Have you ever wondered how the paper you use daily is made? Welcome to a journey into the fascinating world of papermaking, a craft that transforms humble wood pulp into the sheets that fill your notebooks and journals. The process is as intriguing as it sounds, taking us through a series of steps that converts a towering tree into the paper you hold in your hands. So join us on this exploration and stay tuned to understand how a tree is transformed into the paper you hold in your hands. It all starts with a tree, specifically hardwood and softwood trees. These towering giants of nature are the cradle of our story. Their wood is the primary source of paper, but how do we get from tree to page? Imagine a forest filled with these trees. They are cut down in a process called logging and then stripped of their bark. This is where we encounter wood pulp, the raw material of paper. This pulp is not quite the paper we're familiar with, but it's rich in cellulose, a complex carbohydrate that forms the structural component of plant cell walls. The stripped wood, now a mass of pulp, undergoes a process of cleaning and refining. It's like a metamorphosis, gradually changing from an unrecognizable mass into a substance we all know and use every day. So the barkless tree is now ready to be transformed into something more familiar to us. The journey from tree to paper is a fascinating one. Let's dive in to understand how the transformation happens. It all begins with wood pulp, a fibrous material obtained from trees. This wood pulp is then subjected to a process known as pulping. Here, chemicals and heat come into play. The pulp is cooked under high pressure in a concoction of chemicals. This process breaks down the wood pulp into a mushy mixture, almost like a thick soup. This is our first step in the journey of pulp to paper. Once the pulp is broken down, it's not quite ready to become paper just yet. It still contains impurities and is a far cry from the clean, white sheets we're accustomed to. This is where the process of bleaching comes in. The pulp is treated with a series of chemicals that work to remove any lingering impurities and to lighten its color. Now the pulp is almost paper, but it's still a wet mush. To transform this into a solid sheet, it is drained on a large screen. The water drips away, leaving behind a mat of intertwined fibers. It's starting to look a lot like paper now, isn't it? But we're not quite there yet. These sheets are still damp and quite fragile. The next step is to press and dry them. The sheets are fed into a series of press rollers that squeeze out any remaining moisture. The now much drier sheets are then passed through heated rollers, which evaporate the last traces of water and iron out any wrinkles, giving us smooth, flat paper. And there you have it. Through a process of cooking, bleaching, draining, pressing, and drying, the humble tree is transformed into the everyday item we know and love, paper. And voila, the tree has now become paper. But how does this process impact our environment? Let's explore that in our next scene. Prepare to be surprised. The paper industry, like many others, has an environmental impact. It begins with the trees, our planet's lungs, being felled for pulp. This process, known as deforestation, reduces biodiversity and disrupts ecosystems. It's a hefty price to pay for our paper needs, but that's not the end of the story. The transformation from pulp to paper involves a cocktail of chemicals. These chemicals, while necessary for the process, can lead to harmful waste. But it's not all doom and gloom. The industry is aware of these issues and is taking steps to reduce its footprint. Recycling is one such method, turning used paper back into pulp and saving countless trees. Another is sustainable forestry, where for every tree cut down, another is planted. These efforts are crucial in balancing our paper demands with the health of our planet. Next time you hold a piece of paper, remember the journey it has taken from tree to your hands and the impact it has on our world. So that's the story of paper, an everyday item with a complex journey. From the silent giants of the forest through a transformative process emerges the humble paper. This journey isn't without its costs, as the paper industry grapples with environmental impact, but it's also a story of resilience as the industry seeks sustainable solutions. It's a fascinating narrative of transformation from tree to the paper in your hand. Remember, every piece of paper has a story to tell, a story of transformation and impact. Thank you for joining us on this journey today.